This
Let's go ahead and
conference will now be recorded.
call our meeting to order for Tuesday, August 25th. We are starting at 7:04 p.m. Gabe, do you want to go ahead and start with the roll call?
Yes, Chair. Commissioners Newton,
Present.
Brenneman,
Here.
Lally,
Here.
okay. Perkins,
Here.
Kopczynski,
Here.
and Ropp. That is 5 commissioners present.
All right, fabulous. So the next item on our agenda is the election of vice chair, with Chris Equidois resigning at the end of this most recent month. Yeah, Joe Ray, so you were not here at our last meeting. Chris moved to independence. It happened very quickly, and we're happy for him, but we will miss him a lot. So we are electing a vice chair.
Okay. Do we have somebody that's replacing him on the commission?
So that has not come up yet at City Council. It will be replaced with Mike Sykes, Ward 1, his appointment. And I haven't seen it on an upcoming City Council meeting, and I have not seen the application go live on the City of Albany website, but I believe that's forthcoming.
Okay. I'd like to nominate Scott.
Second.
Well, Scott, do you accept?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay, is there anyone else that would be interested in serving as the vice chair? All right, hearing no further acclamations, let's go ahead and vote on that. So everyone who is good with Scott Lawley becoming our vice chair of the Human Relations Commission, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, well, congratulations, Scott, and looking forward to working with you even further.
Thank you.
I didn't see Scott vote for himself.
I didn't, can I vote? I didn't.
Yes, you can vote for yourself. It's allowed.
Okay, no, it's too late.
Unanimous. All right, so let's go ahead and move to meeting agenda number 4, which is approval of the July 28th, 2020 minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right. And all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, and any opposed? Any issues seeing with the new minutes?
I abstained since I wasn't there.
Okay. So business from the public. Hello, public. It looks like there's quite a few people here. Is there anyone that wanted to introduce themselves or bring any business to the commission? Graham?
I'm just glad
Graham, I apologize. Will you state your name and your address?
I'm Graham Kissinger, 1240 10th Avenue Southwest. And can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm just glad that you're taking up the issues of the racial incidents and Black Lives Matter tonight. I think it's very important. I found it really troubling, and I am just glad you had this setting tonight. I'm particularly glad that our police chief has called these incidents what they are, hate crimes, and for those who have spoken up about this. I just had this thought this afternoon. There's no National Night Out this year, this month. It usually happens in early August. And maybe this is a nice opportunity without this. An alternative this year might be to do a couple things. When we had an incident like this a couple years ago on the HRC, it was brought to our attention. There was some graffiti on a lady's home, and we reached out, and neighbors reached out. A neighborhood watch was formed in that neighborhood. And I see her from time to time, but some good things happened. I had a question. Are there active neighborhood watches in the two neighborhoods? I have no idea where these people live, where the incidents were. And is there an opportunity to do a little reaching out, either from the HRC or the city, if people wanted to respond to these acts of hate with some words of support, text, email, whatever. Maybe the city could funnel it to the families who were affected by these, just to reach out. And it doesn't, I think it's in your purview to do that.
I absolutely agree.
And that's basically all I had to say. And I opened my mouth, and I would be happy to be part of any effort like that. So.
Fabulous. Javier?
Hello, commissioners. Madam Mayor, hello. Councilor Johnson, hello.
Javier, will you state your name for the record? Sorry, I apologize.
That's okay. I was just about to get there.
Oh,
I want to do the salutation. My name is Javier Cervantes. I am a resident of Albany, 2041 Grace Avenue Northwest here in Albany, Northwest Albany. Yeah, taking it a step further to Graham's point, I look at these things as kind of a systemic issue, and I really appreciate Councilman Johnson's response, Sykes' response to these issues. I would like to see, and if other people have responded to that more on a one-to-one level, I appreciate that too. I haven't heard anything about that, but I would actually like to see this commission formally recommend a formal denouncing of this particular language, and have the city council put this on the next agenda, the sooner rather than later, to formally, as a body, denounce these behaviors and these actions of hate. Not too long ago, well, it wasn't that short ago. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. Members of the community and this council recommended that there was a welcoming proclamation. And I would like to see a proclamation written in this form denouncing this as a city, these behaviors, these actions. A lot of people get up in arms because there's a destruction of property, more so than the actual victims of what's actually messaged on this particular messaging. So I would like to see them put people first rather than property, if it hasn't happened already. Councilman Johnson has suffered himself acts of vandalism to his own property, but I think the message goes deeper than what just happens to his property, to his vehicles, but it actually gets to the soul of who people are. And that to me is tragic, it's traumatic, it's infuriating as a person of color in this community as well. So I'd like to see that. I'd like to see a proclamation, a denunciation of this behavior, because it's just unacceptable that members of our community have to suffer through this for no other reason, just to intimidate and to espouse hate. And this is not the community that I want.
Javier, I missed the last part of what you were saying. Would you please repeat? And Heather, Lorraine, Councilor Alex, please mute yourselves.
Alex, they were asking for you to mute yourself. There you go. So no, my last statement was basically, I would like to see this. It is a traumatic experience that people experience this, you know, for the people who are the targets and those of us who live in this community. I personally have been have been targeted a number of times, either by this body, the city council body itself, or members of the community when I was searching for a home in Albany. It did not dissuade me from being there. The Veterans Day parade that has been recently canceled, unfortunately, has been a target of this particular behavior as well. And so it's time for systemic answers. So I know that our city managers here, our mayor is here. I would like for them to lead on this as well, and have this happen. So thank you very much. I appreciate the time, and I will go ahead and be quiet.
Thank you both for your comments. Is there anyone else that wanted to come before the commission? Cynthia?
So I'm a member of the Corvallis Albany NAACP branch. So my residence is Corvallis, Oregon, 1105 Northwest 30th Street in Corvallis. And I'm here just to ditto what Mr. Kingsbury and Mr. Cervantes had said about this being about a way to bring about fear and loathing amongst people. And I'm calling on the city of Albany to make a stand against this kind of behavior, to show that this is a community that really is really truly welcoming for people, and we want people to have a voice here. And so if we allow this kind of behavior to happen, it's only going to get worse. So I thank you all for having this forum tonight, and being here as citizens wanting to try to take action about it. And so thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak and bring anything? Nancy Greenman?
I would like to speak if that's okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. So my name is Clarissa Morin Freitas, and I'm a resident of Albany. I live on 728 Montgomery Street Southeast, Ward 1. And I also coordinate a program called the Lean Benton Health Equity Alliance. And I understand that the demographics and the people in this community have changed considerably in the last few years. But for those of you who maybe are newer to either this committee or the work that it's done, I just would like to encourage you to watch the recording of a city council session that happened back in 2017. And I'll be happy to, I don't remember the exact date right now off the top of my head, but as I'm hearing Javier talk about the racial incidents in our community, I am reminded of the very lengthy testimony that community members offered during that session, which was back in July of 2017. I think there were over 90 minutes of community testimony of people coming to share some of the experiences they've had in Albany that resulted directly of racial tension and racial hatred in our community. There were people relating stories that happened to their children in playgrounds and in schools and just walking on neighborhoods. And I think watching that public testimony would be really important to sort of bring back the fact that these incidents of racial hatred are not new to our community. They've been happening for a really long time. And if we don't do something to address them, they will continue happening. I do really believe that Albany thinks of itself as a welcoming community, and I think Albany wants to be a welcoming community. And I also think it currently isn't a super welcoming community to a lot of our residents who are people of color. I think a lot of people have a justified anxiety just doing day-to-day things in here. And I have friends who wonder if they would be better off moving somewhere else. And I don't think that's what this community wants. I don't think this community wants to lose its diversity and its youth and the contribution that these people bring to it. So I'm really happy Javier is here. I know he was part of the commission back when that testimony happened. And I just want to second everything that he said as things that I believe are really important to bring up to not just this commission, but to the city council in general and to the public in general. I don't think it's enough to say that we are welcoming and diverse and inclusive. I think we need to take action on that to show to people that we actually mean it. A lot of times, people just say these things, but they don't really mean it. And people of color, communities of color, are really burned out hearing communities say that they are welcoming and inclusive and knowing that deep inside that isn't true yet. So I just want this commission to be reminded of that very long public testimony that happened as a consequence of a change to the charter of this commission. I would like to encourage the newer members of this commission who may not have been present at that city council meeting to watch that city council meeting. And I would like to encourage the people who were there to maybe rewatch it and remind yourselves of the stories that were told very heartfeltly by longtime residents of Albany. And take that into consideration when you make decisions moving forward, not just about your course of action, but also, and especially since there is an open space on this commission, I do know that these seats are appointed by city councilors. But I don't think it's out of place to encourage city councilors to consider appointing perhaps people that represent groups that are not currently in the Human Relations Commission. I think that adds to the discourse and to the conversation and to the breadth of knowledge and the ability to make good by our community. So I've been talking a lot and I'm going to stop here, but just let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Clarice. I agree with everything you said, and I have a few notes and I'm excited to talk further about this. But Nancy, you had something as well.
My name is Nancy Greenman, and as a Jewish person living in a city where people are spray painting swastikas, I'm going to refrain from giving my address. I just wanted to say, because if we're silent, you don't know what we're thinking, although I'm guessing you know what I'm thinking, that I agree totally with Javier and Cynthia and Clarice. Thank you all.
So I'd love to share a few of my thoughts while you guys are speaking. This has been weighing heavily on my mind. I believe Javier, you and I spoke briefly about the two incidents. And so I did a lot of research, reading, and I want to send this PDF document from the Southern Poverty Law Center. Really the best cure for hate is a united community. And so I've been thinking, what can we do more than a proclamation, more than, words, like, talk is cheap sometimes, like when you're at the receiving end of a hate crime, or even, I want to talk with my fellow commissioners. I can bring this later on in the meeting to business from the commission, but I'd like us to brainstorm how we can get the city of Albany to further, we have a social media account. How can we, and a newsletter that's really well read, how can we better educate our citizens and make Albany a safer, or should I read our mission statement, so we can be advocates for equity, diversity, and inclusion, and really put some action behind what we're doing as a city. So would anyone else like to speak at all? Javier.
Yeah, so saying that, I'm thinking more than the proclamation. Also, I'd like to perhaps see some folks lead a town hall discussion, an online virtual town hall discussion, right? Because a city council meeting is great. I mean, obviously we have to do it virtually. It was a powerful expression of trauma unfortunately, people re-experiencing those stories and realizing what that is. We need to make people help. We need to hold people accountable to what they say. I remember specifically Councilman Kellum saying that, you know, equity, diversity, inclusion were words that are used by Black Lives Matter, right? That was 3 years ago, right? Fast forward to the death of George Floyd, and we had for the first time in my memory, having been here since 2006 when I moved here to Albany, for the first time in my memory of living in this great city, we had an outpouring of over 1,000 people, mostly white, in favor of Black Lives Matter. And I didn't see, hopefully he was there, I didn't see him there. Councilor Kellum there, Councilman Kellum there. I would love to have seen them there. I see his response in the paper, talking about it's not his responsibility to denounce this language. It's obviously he does denounce it in some way, in a mealy mouth way. But then I remember 3 years ago how he came out forcefully against Black Lives Matter in regard. Nobody's condoning the violence that's happening around the country, that's going on with the disputes up in Portland. Nobody's saying that anybody condones that. However, the protests that are happening are the voices of the unheard, and I will say that, you know, and I'll say it again. The voices that are protesting are the voices of the unheard, right? And it's important for our city leaders. I see Peter here again. I see Mayor Canopa. I see Councilman Johnson here. It's the responsibility of our city leaders, our elected officials, to hold other members accountable for language like that and behavior like that in the newspaper. And so I'd like to see a town hall where all the commissioners, all the city councilmen together, mutually together, and actually hold a town hall to actually hear these testimonies again, or people willing to experience them. We want to see action. That's how you actually see action. And then hopefully comes with some policy ideas to come out and actually make people feel more safe in their own city that Albany represents. Thank you.
I 100% agree, Javier. I am more than happy. Like, I'll go ahead and email the entire city council and Mayor Canopa. I'll send you also the email, and Peter. I would be more than happy for us to facilitate a town hall, like a community conversation on race and understanding. So, and I'm thinking, like, hate crimes don't just happen. There's bias incidents, there's microaggressions, there are things that happen before a hate crime happens. How can we address microaggressions, bias incidents, the small things, the insidious things that people don't, you know, likely maybe realize sometimes? And how can we also educate people on that as well and address that? So I'd love to get that on the books, and I'll go ahead and reach out to everyone and get this facilitated.
Okay. Steph, can I say a few words? I want, there was a couple questions, and it was more, you know, wanting to have like a proclamation too. And I just think it's wonderful timing for that. Graham, you were curious, kind of wanting to know the family that was impacted. And I do know the one family was actually my neighborhood. So 4 houses from my house.
Well, there's 2 families and perhaps another man who's gay.
The one that was the paint that was poured over the cars was my neighborhood. So I don't know, you know, if they want to be contacted from people, I can find that out. Chief Harden might know too, you know, because the police have been really trying to help out and try to find out, you know, where it came from. They had, you know, looked at my cameras, security cameras, to try to see, you know, the amount of, you know, if there was anybody that went by, and there's only 4 cars that whole night. I mean, we don't get a lot of cars on our street at night. But yeah, it's, it's, you know, it's uncalled for. So it's just totally unacceptable in our community. I do want to explain, like, if it is a town hall, Steph, I think it'd be a great idea, but we do need to run it by the council. The council would have to give approval for that. The HRC can hold a town hall, you know, on their own, but if we want to have it with the city council, we do have to get city council's approval for that. A proclamation, council kind of took away my authority on proclamations a couple years ago. And so that's when I brought up the Pride Week proclamation, when I brought that forward. And so now if there's anything that can be a little bit of concern with the council, I have to get their approval with that. So, and then, but I think really what would have more meaning would be a resolution. So I think later on in the agenda, you will see a resolution towards this, making a statement that I can bring forward to, if the HRC approves it, I can bring it forward to the council tomorrow night to get approval for that. But a resolution, council resolution, kind of have more meaning to it. Kind of stays in the archives of the city. I mean, they're really, there's not a lot of teeth to it, like kind of Graham would remember, and Nancy, when they brought forward the one that we did 4 or 5 years ago. I remembered it. We passed a resolution, but it just kind of gets, they sit in an archive, and you've got to kind of make sure somebody's around to remember them. But that was close to 5 years ago, Graham, when we did that resolution before. So it was not unanimous. So, but it
Are you
passed.
talking about the mission that's stated right in the packet? It's right on the HRC. It was to revise the mission statement. And
This was the one that you brought forward, you and Sharon Gisler, and it was over the incident that happened at the Veterans Day Parade. Do you remember that? Nancy, do you remember it? I remember you bring that to us.
yeah, I don't think it was me. Well,
Yeah.
okay. I remember it.
I pulled up that resolution, so we did. We do have that, but so it could have been modified, but I think maybe what you're going to be seeing in your agenda might be something that you would like to move forward. But the process would be is HRC would have to make a recommendation to the board on that. But thank you. I just wanted to explain what the actual processes are. So thank you.
Mayor, so I know there's a city council meeting tomorrow. I'm more than happy to come and invite the city council to begin facilitating a community conversation surrounding race and what it's like here in Albany and things that we can do better, so we can have some actionable things we can actually put in place.
I mean, you're going to want to ask your whole HRC too, if that's the direction they want to go. So.
Yes, I will bring that up at business from the commissioner. We can think that we can maybe just vote on this right now. Would anyone else like to attend, or is anyone not in favor of facilitating a community conversation? Scott?
Well, I think I'm in favor, but I would like to know a little bit more of the details. You know, I have written down here, town hall meeting, community discussion, conversation. That could mean a lot of different things, so I'd like to know the details.
So we're creating the details. Ray, you have a comment?
Yes, even though the process has changed, I would still like to believe that we could try and effect a proclamation also, or in lieu of, or prior to a resolution, because that's read out loud. It comes from the mayor's position, and while it doesn't hold any weight any more than the resolution, I still would like to see something akin to that on the record also.
I agree. I think both would be a great step forward. I would suggest that I recommend we would do both, because I feel like we would be able to have more of an impact on our community if we're actually coming forth and doing kind of more of a fireside chat or town hall. We're actually, and it's not just a proclamation that's read at city council, because, you know, I think we'd be able to reach a greater number of residents here in Albany.
You know, you have another opportunity too. You have council.
Cannot hear you, Graham.
Okay. You
Mike.
have, here's another opportunity. This is an election season. These are good questions for candidates. You got like 4 or 5 candidates you got candidates for mayor and several council positions. This is excellent. You can have a whole evening on our racial reckoning this summer. I mean, these are important, vital issues. And we could have somebody, invite the media to, make it, that could be the forum.
We don't.
Yeah, that's a detail.
By saying rather than racial reckoning, racial reconciliation, so people come together in that regard. I understand the concept of racial reckoning because I agree with you. I want to come to Jesus moment too, just as much as anybody else. But I would probably call it I think about the apartheid South Africa and how Nelson Mandela talked about his commission on racial reconciliation, and this is the kind of stuff that I think would foment that. So I'm 100% with you, Graham. Just a little tweak to the word, that's all.
That's fine. That's fine.
And this is Clarice. I just wanted to make a comment that I appreciate the sentiment, that I understand that this is an election year, so these things get bundled up together. But I do want to say, though, that I am reluctant of having a event that is centered around the election, just because I think this issue goes beyond the election. It goes beyond partisanship. It goes beyond November. Like, this is something that has been happening in our community for decades, and that I and lots of other people, and I would hope every single member of this commission, would like to see it end, regardless of how elections play out, regardless of how things change politically in the future. Like, I don't think that coming out and talking about incidents of racial hatred in our community and how we should stop them and prevent them has anything to do with partisanship. It has to do with humanity and morality. Like, this should be a moral choice. This should not be something we want to happen in our community. So I just wanted to say that.
I agree, Clarice.
Excuse me, Chair Stephanie. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My camera is not working. I'm really frustrated because as a member of the commission, I keep getting this. The camera will not work tonight, and it's frustrating because I'm trying to raise my hand and I can't raise a hand because y'all can't see me. Sorry. Comments from business from the public. Sorry, my brain went into 5 words simultaneously. Business from the public. Are we going to have a discussion, or this is supposed to be something for the commission, for us as appointed commissioners to the HRC to decide what direction that we want to go? This is like turning into a town hall meeting. We've set aside time but there's nothing on the agenda that says that we're going to be having a town hall meeting tonight. And I'm excited that there's this many people here. It's fabulous. I wish we had this all the time, but I would like us to stay focused. And if we're going to have you go to the city council meeting, then I think that as commissioners need to either say yes and put it together, that you should put together some thoughts. We can vote on it tonight, reply back to you so that you have direction by tomorrow. I think makes sense versus having multiple discussion with all these wonderful participants. And this, I don't think there's anybody on the commission that would say, no, don't do it.
Thank you, Joe Ray. So first I'm going to respond to Clarice. Clarice, I agree with you. I believe that this kind of, this should be focused on the community, not an election. I'm sure that there are other groups like League of Women Voters or other groups that would want to host a candidate forum with similar questions. But I think that this should be more of like a centered on the community and how we can be better neighbors. And then Joe Ray, yes, I did mention earlier in the meeting that I will be bringing this to business from the commission where we will vote on it. I did also ask maybe about 6 minutes ago if anyone had any issues moving forward with the town hall, and the town hall is not today. It would be at a later date, which would be scheduled with the city council and with the Human Relations Commission if we choose to move forward with this when we vote on it later on this.
I understand that, but with all due respect, Chair Stephanie, is that the issues going forward with the town hall is a question for the commission, not for our visitors.
So it was a suggestion brought to us by the public. So we're communicating and doing our job as a member of this commission. And, you know, when someone from the public brings a suggestion, we definitely want to understand and take that in and see how we can facilitate and how we can do the most good as members of the Human Relations Commission. And so, which is why we have, you know, had a kind of a preliminary discussion about hosting a community conversation, and which we'll bring to a vote later on in this meeting.
So really quickly, I ran these meetings
So,
for.
pardon me, but with that, I'm sorry. I've got a ton of other things to do.
I'm sorry.
Have the meeting. I've got other things I need to go on to do tonight.
Who has a right to speak, Madam Joy. So I really just want to say that business from the public is important that we handle at these particular conversations. It's important that we actually have voices heard, not just the people who are actually on these commissions appointed by the city councilmen or councilwomen, whoever appointed them. So going back to my point, it is very important that people hear this. We're not determining anything. What you're doing is hearing testimony from your public. If you don't want to hear testimony from your public, I suggest that perhaps you don't participate in the meeting today and you can come back and have a conversation later.
Pardon me, Javier. Pardon me. That was not.
I really appreciate that.
Pardon me, Javier, and I'm sorry because for some reason, like I said, my camera is not working. I have no clue. That was not my point. Chair Stephanie asked the members of the commission a question, and then we continued to take input from members from the public, which is highly unusual. I've sat in on city council meetings and I see how they do it. They take the information from the public. Thank you very much. And then the members of the council are addressed, and they're the ones that make the decision. And that is the same protocol that this organization has followed. I'm not trying to silence you guys at all. Stephanie asked us, the members of the commission, if we wanted to go forward with her doing that, and then we ended up with more input. I love the input. I'm not against the input. I'm just saying it's turned into a town hall meeting and the discussion, and perhaps a work session should be had where there could be a discussion and plan for that more efficiently versus at this forum.
This is the first chance that we actually get to voice this. So I would ask for a little bit of latitude, a little bit of grace. I live on Grace Avenue, so I see it every day. I would ask for a little bit of latitude from your public to hear what people have to say. That's all I would actually ask of this particular commission. I know how this commission runs. I used to run it for 3, 4, 5 years. I was on this for 6 years, so I understand where you're coming from. We're all very busy. We're all taking time from our days, from our families, to actually express our disappointment with what's going on in our city. I would just ask a little bit of grace and a little bit of patience from your part, because I know you're very busy running for Senate and all that other stuff. But I would appreciate just a little bit of grace for all of us to actually be able to input here.
So, and I want to clarify, I wasn't calling for an official vote. That was, if there was any miscommunication or confusion, I'll go ahead and re-listen to this meeting afterwards and see, you know, how maybe I could have better phrased that. But it was more when I said, does anyone not want to move forward with this, or does anyone have any? It was a way for me to invite fellow commission members to speak and bring forth their comments, which I believe right after I asked that, Commissioner Scott Lawley and Commissioner Ray Kopczynski also brought forth feedback. So it was a way for me to facilitate additional conversation between the members of our commission and the public. So I apologize if that was confusing or if I worded something weirdly. So is there any other business from the public? All right. So seeing none, let's go ahead and move over to 5B, which is update on recent racial incidents. And I believe we have our chief of police here on the phone, if I remember seeing her.
I'm here.
Oh, perfect. Welcome, Marcia.
Good evening.
So we were wondering if we would be able to get an update on the recent racial incident from you.
Well, just to recap for everybody, there were actually two separate incidents, one on August 10th and one on August 16th, both in the basic central to south part of the city. Different victims, both we are treating like a hate crime, and I can explain where some confusion came about. I saw some social media posts about this is not considered it, or we didn't consider it a hate crime, etc. As of now, we're still actively working any tips that come in. We did canvass locations for video. I will tell you, and to anybody in the city, that the ring cameras, the security cameras, I'm sure the mayor would agree with this, they're an awesome tool for protecting your neighborhoods, whether it be burglars or a hate crime like this. We solve a lot of crimes that way. Unfortunately, it didn't yield a lot. We're still evaluating some of the information coming in, but absent somebody commenting or calling us saying, hey, so-and-so was bragging about this, we might be a little bit stuck in that regard. What we are doing is kind of stepping up some patrols in those areas. We have reached out and have been in communication with victims in both incidents, one of which happened applicant with us at the city, and I reached out to him shortly after learning about this to make sure he and his family felt safe and so on and so forth. So there is no new suspect information. What I ask is, we've seen some incidents where people will write stuff in chalk on sidewalks in front of people's houses. We've had this happen to police officers' houses as well. Some hate speech in that regard. If you see something that doesn't look right, a car doesn't look right, or anything like that, to call us while it's occurring. That's really the best weapon, other than the follow-up on the cameras. You would go back to the see something, say something. That really is the best path forward on catching these. And I've listened to everybody talk over the last 45 minutes or so. I want to absolutely guarantee that if we get actionable information on any of these items, whether or not they meet the hate crime statute in the state of Oregon or not, we will pursue them as far as we can go. Where the confusion came on the hate, this is not a hate crime or it is a hate crime. The law in Oregon is very, very specific when it comes to hate crime. You have to have a set of criteria that is present for it to be filed under the ORS as a hate crime. Doesn't mean it's not a crime. It still could be a crime, but it has to have an intended intimidation for one individual or damage of their property, and they have to be in a protected class as identified by state law. And so on the first incident, until we identified all the victims and who the intended parties might be, it may not have been a hate crime, but it was definitely a crime. But once we figured that out, it most certainly was. And we'll treat it as such until we pass it off to the DA. And I have no doubt that on either side of the river, that our DAs will prosecute to the fullest extent that they can. But also going back, I think we as a community, it starts well before these actions happen. I agree with what everybody said, that these things have to start in our schools and in our homes and our conversations on a regular basis. It cannot occur only after something bad has happened. Yeah, we have an opportunity in the narrative in this country right now to have some good, serious discussions, but it has to start before that. We as a police department have to engage the community before these things happen, and open lines of communication. Part of it too is some people are afraid to report things. They're afraid to come to us and report anything, and that should never be the case. So it's my job to make sure that we're opening lines of communication with communities so they feel safe in bringing information forward. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has.
So I had a quick question for you. Well, two actually. What are some things that the Albany Police is doing to open those lines of communication and help people feel comfortable reporting crimes and, possible bias incidents? And then follow-up question on that would be, well, actually, would you answer that one first, and I might answer.
So one of the things that I was intending to start when I first got here, and I was fortunate to come from a community that was very active in engaging our communities of color. And in Bellevue, there were a lot. Over 35 languages were spoken. It was a very diverse community. And so I grew up in the culture of that. That's how we conducted business as a police department. We had those lines of communication open. And so that was on the to-do list, so to speak, when I started here. COVID hit, and then we basically shut down and went in. I joked that I didn't even have a honeymoon period, really, because it was nonstop from the moment that I got my feet on the ground. But when the incident in Minneapolis happened with George Floyd, we can't wait any longer, and I can't wait for COVID to pass, because it's going to be with us for a bit. So we started to have internal discussions with police staff about where we are in policing. What are our gaps? And it was an open discussion. It was a safe discussion. We talked about some of the maybe the implicit bias that's going on that we need to address and things like that. What are the training gaps that we need to address as staff? And then how do we engage the community? Who do we engage with? And so I asked for volunteers from within the police department and had 12 staff members volunteer, 11 of which are police officers, one is a dispatcher. All different genders, all different races, backgrounds, and things like that, all very committed to having open dialogue with the public. The next stage, there's some folks on this call now that are engaged in that team. It's called the Diversity Advisory Team for APD, where they are invited to the table to speak on behalf of the community and their experiences with the police. And these are not, I don't want people on the team that are going to love us. I want people to have difficult conversations about where our gaps are, not just in Albany, but regionally, as well as what can we do to be a leader in the area of reaching out and building bridges with the community and being proactive. Some of the people heard on the earlier call today with the Hispanic Advisory Committee that you can't build a relationship in a crisis. You can't build trust in a crisis. And I've said it over and over again. And so I'm trying to be proactive about things. There will be something that will happen. We will use force on somebody that looks really bad, and people are going to be very upset about it. And I want to have those open lines of communication where people can say, I need an explanation, chief, as to how this happened. Or this is going on in this community and it's not okay and I can't get anybody to do anything about it. They have an open line of communication on that. And it helps build trust with community members. I can't wait for, all due respect to the Councilor Johnson and the mayor and my bosses on the call, I can't wait for the city to act on it. There's too much at risk when it comes to police work. I have to move forward. I have to start building those bridges. And so I'm excited about what we can do with that. It'll give the community an opportunity to talk about how we do our job. It'll give the community a chance to sit on our hiring panels and on our promotional panels and then have difficult conversations as things occur across the country. And I cringe every time something happens on the news where I'm like, here we go, just when I thought things were calming down. I'm dismayed that the message behind, the good message behind Black Lives Matter has been lost in the violence. I think we're losing perspective on the good change that could come from George Floyd's death. That's the only good thing that can come of it, is that it will open a dialogue. And unfortunately, people are getting lost over the violence. And I'm sure Councilor Johnson will have plenty to say on this, but that's unfortunate. And I'm committed to keeping the conversation going. I enjoy my conversations with him and other committee members. And I have a small army of officers who are ready to have that conversation as well.
Do you have any actionable recommendations for the city or for the Human Relations Commission for what we can do to, kind of meet these incidents before they become hate crimes, or how we can better? I'm at a loss for. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase things. I apologize, but what the city and what we could do as the Human Relations Commission to make it so that you don't have to deal with hate crimes in the future. It would be phenomenal if we just had such a strong community that hate did not exist here. It's far off dream, I'm sure, because racism is insidious and it's embedded in our culture.
Very few. You're in you have the advantage of having the voice of the council or the ear of the council and the public. I speak to one realm of it, but I continuing to push the message in that we're not born to hate. Hate is taught, so it starts early, and the earlier that we can counteract that message. Unfortunately, we will never get to I would love to, in my lifetime, to get to 0 incidents. I'd love my lifetime to have 0 use of force deaths across the country that bring dishonor to the profession, but we will not get to 0. We'll certainly try to make a dent at it. It's just the message that we have to send. And I think we have to be consistent. And I will do that on behalf of the police department. We will have a strong stance on it and won't tolerate it, won't look the other way, whether it's internal or external.
So you jogged a an idea loose in my head, and I know that we have with the city of Albany. So hate it's taught, it's taught, and we're able to address issues at a younger age. I'm wondering if there might be a way we could, as a city, either I know we have city parks programs, that children go to. I know that I've seen that the police actually on their guys' social media that they attend these summer events, like the summer camps. But if we're able to have some introduce and start having that conversation early with kids here at Albany whenever they're attending those events, and just start it younger, where people can understand human rights, human equality, diversity, and have a respect for our community and for everyone within it.
I do think that there's some good partnerships there. I invited the school superintendent, Melissa Goff, and one of the principals from GAPS to be on the diversity advisory team. So there's that representation from GAPS. But we can have a discussion offline. There's a number of things that we are restarting. We stopped Community Academy. We stopped our Youth Academy. We stopped, again, somebody mentioned National Night Out. That is a great way to engage with people and try to break down those barriers. And we can certainly do that on a socially distanced level. Those things are starting to ramp back up again. And we do have neighborhood watch programs. It's just we're in this weird time where COVID, we're trying to figure out what's safe and what's not. I think we're beginning to figure out what works in the new norm. So we can certainly talk about a number of items. I think we just have to be consistent that we accept what we tolerate. If we tolerate and don't speak up and happen and try to fight them, then we accept it through silence.
I agree, and thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate the update and your thoughts, and thank you so much for being here. All right.
And I'll stay
so,
what comes up.
What was that?
I'll stay on in case anybody has any other questions.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. Did anyone else from the commission have any questions for Chief Harden?
I'd just like to say that, Stephanie, I think you asked the questions I wanted to ask.
Well, good. We're in sync. All right, so let's move forward with the next item from our agenda, which is item 5C, Albany Black Lives Matter protest presentation by Councillor Alex Johnson. Alex, did you need screen sharing capabilities? If so,
no, I do not. Thank you for asking the question. Thank you for having me here tonight. I think one of the things that we must clear up is that it actually wasn't a Black Lives Matter organization event. It was 2 young ladies supporting one of their friends that had been being bullied at West Albany High School, and she's biracial. And so they planned this protest at City Hall thinking that 13 or 14 or 15 people were going to show up. Well, when they hijacked the Black Lives logo and they put it on their Facebook post, it shot across the internet like wildfire. And so I got a call from a gentleman named Luke Helfenstein, he's in Ward 2, at 5 a.m. in the morning. And after I finished talking to him, my next phone call was to Chief Harden. And she had a meeting scheduled with Jody Yoder at Margin Coffee. And I brought together 3 other women, plus Jody, Heather Carmichael, Erling Wilson Huey, and Susan Leonard, that are members of NAACP, to help to take over this process, because there was no agenda. It was just 2 young people trying to help another young person with what she was going through in school. Now, Ray saw me when I was raw. Commissioner Consensi saw me when I was raw, and so did Javier, and so did the Marsha Chief Harnden, and so did the city manager. And so it's been since June 2nd since this whole thing went down. So I've calmed down. I'm no longer terrified for my life or my family's well-being or the people of the city of Albany. But the whole thing with it is that the city of Albany and people from several cities, Roseburg, Sweet Home, Salem, Tillamook, Toledo, Corvallis, they came and they spoke and they used their voices in protest of the brutality that would happen to Mr. George Floyd on that terrible day in Minneapolis. And it was something that really moved me. Unfortunately, people thought I was the one that actually led the protests. And so my social media attacks went up tremendously. Somebody came to my home and threw my flag on the ground. It was one of those days that just I'll never forget. But I will tell you some of the stories of the people that I talked with. I met a woman from Roseburg. She had her 6 grandchildren. They were biracial. And the only reason she came to our protest is because she saw what was going on in the media, and she did not want to go to anything at night because of fear for her family. And so ours being at 4 o'clock was very, very fortuitous for her. She brought her 6 biracial grandchildren here, and they were able to use their voice in protest of the brutality of police departments and for Black Lives Matter. Another one, I met a woman named Miriam from Corvallis, and I was walking down Ellsworth, I think it's Ellsworth, yeah, Lyons or Ellsworth, on the shady side. She was next to Key Bank, and she was out there, and she was looking horrible, not in but as far as her physical, with her pasty, and she was sweating, and she was 93 years old, and she had a sign that said "End Racism Now," and it was an American flag above it, and she was 93 years old. And I asked her, I said, "Can you tell me about you yourself and tell me about your sign?" And she said, "I had this sign made in 1968." And she goes, "I want this stuff to stop before I die." I mean, I cried. I wanted to hug her, but I couldn't. Uh, Can you imagine that? She had it signed made in 1968, and she's standing in Albany, Oregon, lives in Corvallis, on the road in over 90-degree temperatures, protesting at the top of her lungs. I talked to so many people that were sick and tired of being sick and tired of the racial inequality, the police brutality, the racial injustices happening in this country. These are just a small group of folks from the city of Albany, Oregon, and I mean from all over this valley. They came bend. It was just Portland. People came down from Portland. And one of the most poignant things that happened to me or I experienced, there was this young, beautiful, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, young white kid on the corner right in front of the courthouse. And he was screaming at the top of his lungs, "Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter." And I just looked at him and I just gravitated towards him. And I went across the street. And and I said, "Young man, are you okay?" He says, "I don't want anybody to kill my daddy." And his parents explained to me his mother and father were going to grad school at the University of Oregon, and his biological father died when he was 3 years old. He's 11 or 12 years old now. And his mother met this black man and married him, and they got their MBAs and they moved on. The only father he's ever met was a black man. And he was terrified. I mean, I cried. I was on my knees on the street crying because this young man was like, "I don't want anybody to kill my daddy." Think about that. You know, he saw the video before his mother could get to him, and he screamed to his mom. They're telling me the story, and she ran downstairs, but it was too late because his friends had shared it with him. It was horrible. I mean, it was one of the longest days of my life. I got people calling me saying they're going to kill me. One guy called and cussed me out. Like I said, somebody came to my house and threw my flag on the ground. I got several emails on my personal email address, my city council email address. The best of Albany came out, and so did the worst of Albany came out. But one thing I do know is that the people at the protest, they got their word out. They spoke their minds. They shared their hearts. There was a lot of tears. Peter Trotzen was there. Marsha Harndon was there. Her police officers did a wonderful job. Captain Alan Lynn, I've known him since I've been in Oregon. Captain Brad Lyles and Chief Herndon, the team, and the Sheriff Jim Jan did a wonderful job of keeping everyone safe. There was no broken glass. There was no graffiti. There was no crime associated with the protests. I got feedback, some flack from the city business owners, and I understand it. But one lady asked me after the protest, will this be on CNN or Fox News? I said no, because nothing happened. It wasn't one of those that would bring national attention because nothing bad happened. And I cannot even speak highly enough of Dr. Goff for her ideas on keeping the children safe, because there was more children there than adults. There was way more children than adults. And I think it was a moment in our time that the people of Albany spoke and people from other cities spoke with their voice, expressing their dissatisfaction with the racial injustice and what's going on in this country. And I got a call the next morning from Commissioner Tucker, and he and I both drove around the city looking for graffiti, looking for broken glass, looking for trash. There was nothing there. And that's why it wasn't on the national news, because nothing happened. People protested, they spoke their minds, they spoke their hearts, and no one got hurt. And the city of Albany showed the world what could happen if people peacefully protest. And further cement that story, the next day after the article in the paper came out, I was at Safeway. And during this COVID thing, I do all the shopping for the family because I don't put my wife at risk. We have grandchildren. And so I go out and do the shopping. And there was a lady behind me, two behind me at Safeway. And she's in her probably 60s. And she said to me, "Excuse me, are you Counselor Johnson?" I said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "What can I do? How can I help end racism?" And I said, "You're doing it right now. You got out of your comfort zone to talk to somebody you don't know that doesn't look like you." And it was an amazing experience for me, not knowing what she had to say. And I gave her my business card and said, "When you're ready to talk, give me a call." But on the way out to my car, I had over 17 friend requests on Facebook saying, "I saw you and talked to that lady in Safeway. I'd like to meet with you for coffee." And since then I've met with several families, churches, pastors, about my experience in being in Oregon. And I work, and everybody that knows me knows that I love the city of Albany. I've been here for 26 years, and my ashes will be scattered somewhere in the park. I can't tell you where, but it'll be scattered somewhere in a softball field or football field. But that day, that moment in time, Albany shined above everyone, every city in the United States. I could not have been more satisfied with the outpouring, with the turnout, with the level of participation. Councilor Kopczynski kept me safe, or excuse me, former Councilor Kopczynski kept me safe. Councilor Dick Olson was there, and I felt more proud than I ever have of the city of Albany, because I chose Albany. I left San Diego, California to come here. I chose Albany over Corvallis, over Salem, over Eugene, because my first interaction with the police department was so positive. I'm like, I have to live here. And most folks don't realize this, but I grew up the son of a retired police officer. She was commissioned sworn officer in 1961. And for me to have the utmost respect for Marsha Harndon and the police officers here in the city of Albany speaks volumes. I am home. And the protests that we had in the city of Albany was, I will tell you, will never make the news, because I don't care if it makes the news, but it meant something to the city of Albany, and that's the most important thing. I've had more real conversations about race, what it's like to be Black in this city, what it's like to be in this city as a human being than I ever have, and I've been here 26 years. And so I hope we continue the conversations. Javier, Marsh, Chief Harnden, Ray Kopczynski, Clarice, Nancy, Sharon, Mayor Canopa. The conversations have to happen because we will not get over race issues unless we discuss and get out of our comfort zones. That's pretty much it.
Thank you so much, Councillor Johnson.
Hi.
So I think that moving forward with, well, I'm really grateful that at the business to the public that also was brought forward.
I have a little teddy bear.
Honey, 1 second. That we move forward with a discussion with the city.
Teddy bear.
All right.
I'd like to make a comment if I can.
Absolutely, Joe.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And Stephanie, can you turn my camera on? Is that possible? Or is it on my end? I'm just curious.
Yes.
Just wondering.
Joe Ray, did you have a comment? I apologize.
Okay, well, yeah, I was wondering, at first I was wondering if you could turn my camera on, but I guess you cannot.
Oh, I apologize.
So,
I did turn my camera on.
Yeah,
no,
I don't see a camera on your.
Yeah. You share
I'm
cam.
on my, no, I keep hitting the button and it's telling me can't do it. It's all right. It's not a big deal. So, Councilman Johnson, I have shared the peaceful protests in Albany all over the state.
I'm glad. Thank you.
That is the way it should be done. I was so phenomenally impressed. I was blown away. I didn't even know about it until I went to the post office to do something and they happened to mention it. And so I went, okay, I'll go down there. And I got a call from one of my friends. He goes, how come you're not here? I go, I'm on my way. And I still get to travel around the state, as difficult as it is. But I have made it a point of saying that there is a way to peacefully protest, and Portland is not Oregon, and it breaks my heart to see what happens. As you all can imagine, the hate stuff that you get and the hate stuff that I get, they're different, but they're the same. We have my son was physically assaulted and his face broken here in Albany, and the police never followed up, and it was a hate crime. My life has been threatened. I understand what it's like as a white woman. I understand what it's like. There is no place for hate. We all want to love and be loved. We want people to care about us. We want to feel safe and secure in our homes and in our communities. And so I want to thank you, and if you would thank the young ladies and those others that helped you put together that peaceful protest. Thank them on behalf of everybody that I've talked to in Oregon and shared with them. I would really appreciate it because it showed, and I was on live Facebook and streamed it, and people from all over the place could see how a real protest went. As I was talking with some young adults that were there, I engaged a young man that was visiting from Mississippi. His wife is from around here. We had a phenomenal conversation, and but hats off to you. And I'm appalled when I see this kind of hatred. I really am. People probably think I'm not. I'm appalled. Like I said, I've experienced it. I've seen it, and there's no excuse for it whatsoever. It doesn't matter. But again, thank you.
Thank you, Joy. It was one of those days that I'll never forget, and I had never been so terrified and overjoyed. And I will tell you, before I went to the protests, one of my clients called me. She's 85 years old, and I have Medicare clients all over the state and all over the United States. And she told me, she's come to my house right now, and she has never cussed at me in the 9 years I've known her. And I went to her house, and she said, Alex, don't go to that protest. And she was worried about my life. And this woman sitting in her front yard crying, worried about my life. And it was frightening to me, but I had to go because our children were going to be there. All of our children are going to be there. I don't care what color the children are. The children of the city of Albany are our children. Yep. Mayor's children, Peter's children, Marcia's children, Chief Vernon, excuse me, Marcia, Chief Vernon, the city council's children. They're your children. We had to be there for our children. So thank you, Joy, for the comments. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
My children were there.
Yeah.
All right. Did anyone else have any comments to follow up? Just to make sure that I have everyone from the commission. Okay. Hearing none, let's go ahead and move forward with item number 5D, which is the 2019 Human Relations Award and Annual Report presentation. So the meeting was rescheduled to September 23rd. And I have, so we've sent the final Human Relations Commission report for 2019 to Gina, and it will be available at City Hall for each of the commissioners to sign. And it has all the changes that were requested in the previous meeting. So that will be available. And if you guys could make time to sign that prior to September 23rd, that would be much appreciated. And I believe it will be at the desk. Is it the Parks desk? You walk in and you take a left, and it's right on the right. I guess if you walk in from where the flagpole is. I think it's like the Parks desk. Yeah, there we go. Okay, sorry.
Is City Hall open? I was down there today and I thought it said that we couldn't go in unless we had an appointment or something. I just glanced. I don't know.
Jorge, could you elaborate? Because I'm not sure on all of the how City Hall is operating currently.
You go from the front door, Joe Ray. You can enter from the door.
I'm sorry, you broke up. Say that again.
You can enter from Broad Alban door.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, the back is open when there's municipal court.
Okay, but the front is open?
Yeah.
Joe
Okay,
Ray,
thank you.
if you would give Jorge or myself a call and set up a time when you know how to do that. And what that allows us to do is brief the security guard ahead of time that visitors are coming. And that saves you some time when you come in. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. All right, so the HRC calendar event debriefs. So that's on pages 5 and 6 of our meeting packet. So does anyone know of any upcoming events? I don't think there's really very much coming up in the city of Albany due to COVID.
Yes.
So
the National Night Out has actually been rescheduled to October the 6th.
What was that? I apologize.
National Night Out was rescheduled to October 6th.
Okay. So Gabe, will you make note to have that updated in our calendar? And I'm curious to see if that will be rescheduled again.
Yeah. Some of the states like Texas, they traditionally have it October the 6th. And so those of us that signed up to host that, we received an email. I just got another email again today confirming October 6th.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And did anyone attend any events? I went to earlier today a very socially distanced honk and wave with some other members of our community in support of the United States Postal Service. It was fun, but that's about as social as it gets over here right now. So I encourage you all to stay involved, even if it's online, with our community. Okay, so let's go ahead, and if anyone doesn't have anything else to add to the calendar for upcoming events, let's go ahead and move forward with agenda item 5F. Oh, I apologize. There we go. That was we already went over the upcoming events. So then 5G, which I think that I'm going to suggest that for the annual report presentation for 2020, we're going to highlight this discussion today, the hate crimes and how we're moving forward, and we're going to try to come up with an actionable I don't want to say solution, because I don't think that there's any way that we're going to be able to solve racism in Albany, but an actionable path forward to address racism, microaggressions, bias incidents in Albany, and how we also heard from the commission. I mean, heard from the public and from Chief Herndon. And I guess also, I apologize, I'm putting the cart before the horse. We have not voted on that. So how we discussed, that's what we can put in. And if we vote on it, we can put in that we voted on it. Okay. So did anyone else have anything else they would also like to add to the 2020 annual report? I think also maybe that Commissioner Lawley was elected to vice chair.
Yes, we should add that.
Okay, groovy. All right, so let's go ahead and move forward with 5H, which is staff updates. So Jorge, do you want to take the floor?
Yes, thank you. Just a quick update on the RSVPs for the awards. The nominees, all of them have RSVP, and the nominators, only one person is not has confirmed that it's not going to be there. But it seems like the majority of the folks are going to be available for the September 23rd award. In terms of the proclamation and resolution, I know that staff Peter and the mayor have reviewed a resolution, and I wanted to share that before we move on to the business from the commission. So you have an opportunity to see that and decide if you wanted to make it a recommendation for the council and the mayor to bring it up during the meeting tomorrow night. Let me go ahead and share that. Hold on a second.
Thank you so much. And commissioners, this is also sent to our email address earlier today.
This one is the actual resolution, very similar to the proclamation, but it's an actual resolution. Let me know if you can see that.
I can see your screen. Can everyone else?
Yep.
A little tiny.
I'm wondering, Jorge, would you be able to email a copy to Jesse? Jesse, are you still on your phone? I'm not sure if you're able to view this.
Yep, I'm here, and no, I can't see it. Is it what was sent earlier, though?
Would we be able to read it out loud? So
you want to read that? I'm okay if you want to read it.
Well, would you want to, or?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess I signed myself up for reading.
Was that sent earlier, though, an email?
This is the resolution. It probably contains a lot of the same information, but it's actual a resolution. So if Stephanie is willing to read it, that probably would be helpful.
Absolutely. Okay, so it is titled A Resolution of the City of Albany Condemning Racism, Hatred, and Intolerance. The date is left open with the year being 2020. Whereas we cherish our city and are deeply saddened by the recent events of bigotry and intimidation in Albany and injustices that occur anywhere in our nation, and whereas we are committed to safeguarding our community against the damages that racism causes and to ensuring respect and protection of the constitutional rights of every person who lives, works, and plays in our community, and whereas racism, racial injustice, hatred, and bigotry have no place in our community, and whereas the Albany Police Department is committed to working with the community to continue to protect the quality of life for all who live in and visit Albany, and to defend the rights of our citizens and businesses who live in safety and security, and whereas our diverse community makes Albany a desirable place to live, work, and play, and whereas hatred and bigotry decrease the safety and quality of life of our city and seriously and negatively affect our economic viability, and whereas the City of Albany is committed to the values of acceptance, diversity, inclusion, and equity, now therefore be it resolved by the Albany City Council that it stands steadfast against crimes of racism, intolerance, and unlawful discrimination, and be it further resolved that the mayor, city council, and city staff are committed to continuing dialogue with the community to address issues of systemic racism and intolerance and their impact on the individuals and the Albany community as a whole.
So I'll open it up for any discussions that the commission might have, and then if you want to make a recommendation, it will be something that the mayor can bring forward to the council tomorrow's meeting. If the mayor has any comments on it.
What's to me, I think this is a lot more meaning to it to have it be as a resolution, and that's something that the council does vote on too. So, it's placed in the minutes. When I do a proclamation, then I would, like I stated earlier, I would have to, kind of run it by the counselors all before to make sure that they, don't have any problems with any of the wording. This way, I think we'll be able to just kind of get it emailed out to them by tomorrow so they can review it before tomorrow's meeting. And I don't see any problems with us getting this passed. But I think this has more meaning to when it comes for a formal vote. But it's not an ordinance. Ordinances have more teeth, but there's something like a lot of the resolutions that we do have like this are more of a feel-good resolution. There's nothing that really has any sort of enforcement to it. It's sort of kind of like Councilor Sykes had proposed earlier this year, was having was it sanctuary city over some guns, I think, or gun rights or
Second Amendment.
Yeah. And so, ones like that, you can do those resolutions, but there is no enforcement to them. So they're kind of more of a feel good, but it does give a message out there. It sends a message to our community that it's just unacceptable to have any sort of racism in our community. So I think this would be good and be good timing. And it's kind of a refresher. We did it, 4.5, almost 5 years ago. So I think it's a good refresher to put out there on the dais. So
I agree.
I'd like to make a motion that the Human Relations Commission stand in support of that resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So
Aye.
any not in favor? Okay, saying none.
Thank
So
you.
my only feedback was the inconsistent usage of the Oxford comma. I'm not sure if anyone noticed that, but it
was pretty rushed to get it out today. I'll have Holly look it over again. One kind of tweet before we bring it to the council.
Yeah, it's all good. Sorry.
I know Ray Kopczynski would have been bothered by the inconsistent use of the Oxford comma as well.
I'm just happy to have it get into the record, even with the typos or grammar or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so thank you so much, Joe Ray, for making that motion and for unanimous agreement for passing that. So, and Mayor Knopa, you're going to take that tomorrow to City Council. Thank you so much for doing that. I'd like to invite other commission members to also join the City Council meeting. It's tomorrow at 7:15 p.m. on GoToMeeting. I'll be there in attendance as well. So moving forward from this item on the agenda, let's move forward with business from the commission. So
Joe Ray does have one thing, because Joe Ray remembered that she saw Mayor Knopa at the Blue Lives Matter rally here in Albany. I was actually on the paper, but so I wanted to put that in. I don't remember the date.
Yeah,
my calendar.
Yeah, thank you, Joe Ray, for attending too. So it's just uncomfortable having a rally on a busy highway going 50 miles an hour. So
and some of us were crazy enough to kind of stay on the street, but this was what was funny. As the newspaper interviewed me, they take a picture of me talking to some lady, and they don't mention that it's Mayor Knopa.
I think it was a new report, but it was.
I was Caitlin
with that
new with the paper.
How they speed right in front of our police station. Yeah. But thank you.
All right, so the next item is business from the commission. I did want to move forward with a vote from the commission, from the Human Relations Commission, to see if we'd be open to facilitating community conversations on race here in Albany, and reaching out to the city council to begin facilitating that. So would love to hear any feedback, any thoughts from other commission members, and then also get a vote on that. So I'd like to open the floor to other commission members.
I would automatically assume that we would want to move forward and have some sort of a town hall meeting. It's much more engaging than having us just sit up at the dais and be Easter Island statues. And while it can be uncomfortable, As Councilor Alex Johnson II mentioned, getting out of your comfort zone sometimes can be a very, very good thing. And I think we all need to do that from time to time, and possibly even more so nowadays. So I'm much in favor of having that happen.
So Stephanie, I'm curious, and everybody please forgive me because I do not have all of the different organizations memorized that we have, the different commissions, etc. for the city. I'm going to presume then that this would be the commission, it makes sense, that would facilitate that, but would we be the facilitators of it, or would it be a matter of bringing in a professional facilitator? We've all been to those meetings where they've got, and Stephanie, nothing against you because I don't know. So please accept that, my brain's just thinking out loud as usual, but where it would be, as we've all been to those different types of facilitated meetings where people put forward their ideas, their concerns, what they want to see happen. Obviously, when we're in person, it's much easier because we can all see the giant sticky note sheets posted on the wall, and we can go up there and put our little dots and say, yeah, this is really what is bothering me, versus virtually where 3/4 of the people you can't even see them talking or waving their hand because we can't do it on GoToMeeting. So that's my question is how does that look like in trying to facilitate something like that? Would GoTo be the way that we would do it? I like Zoom because you can raise your hand if you're not online. If you're not on camera, you can at least raise a hand. You can type a question that a facilitator can see and can make a meeting go a lot smoother. I don't know if that's a different thing within GoTo that's just not set up on ours, but would we be the ones that would facilitate and run that meeting? That's the question.
So first, I believe GoToMeeting does have those capabilities. We currently have, well, the city has our GoToMeeting in all meetings for like for city council, for landmarks, for every commission, and set up a certain way so it ensures that we don't have any issues like with, I'm sure you've heard of Zoom bombing, how people have come in and done disturbing things during meetings to derail them. So I know that we have our current settings set up in such a way to prevent that. I think that would be something we'd have to work with Jorge and with Gabriel, and we can get some different settings set up to better facilitate questions and for folks to raise hands. Number two, I think it'd be great for us to seek the advice of and talk through and make sure we're hitting key points. But our city councilors and as members of our commission, we're leaders in our community, and people want to hear from us and from city council members, and not necessarily always from like, I think it'd be fabulous to have bring in maybe someone from Oregon State that is a professional on equity and diversity and racism, and I think that'd be incredibly valuable. But I think that we should be part of this because we are part of our community. This is what our mission is here on the Human Relations Commission, and the good work that we can do to improve the lives of all citizens here in Albany.
I wasn't talking about bringing in a professional in that way. I was talking about a professional facilitator, not a speaker, because I think sometimes that having a professional that deals in this issue or that issue loses translation when we're talking with people that have real life experiences versus textbook experiences.
I agree.
So that was just my question, that it's going to be done that way. And again, that all the participants would be able to be viewed online so that they can be seen and so that they can be recognized. So I'm sorry, Stephanie, but I'm very frustrated because you can't see that I'm not done talking because you can't see me for some bizarre reason, and that's okay. But I'm not saying, I'm just talking about having somebody professional that is going to run the agenda and keep that flowing, not a speaker.
So I think that we're putting the cart before the horse. I think that first we should agree that we want to have this conversation, that we want to facilitate this. And maybe facilitate is the incorrect word. I'm not talking about us being, being being that person that's, moving forward on the agenda. I think that we need to make a decision on whether we're going to be moving forward with a community conversation with the city council. And then after we make that decision, we will figure out and determine, as a commission, the best way to organize and put this forward.
Hey, Stephanie, this is Jorge. I just wanted to remind the commission that it seems like a good idea to have a professional facilitator, but there is no budget in this commission. We're having difficulties in our city budget. So if there's anybody that would like to, that you know of, that might want to do it pro bono and have the experience to do it, we would be open to that. But just wanted to, let you know that the budget is very difficult at this time.
Absolutely. And I'm not sure if this might be also putting the cart before the horse. I'm sure we can reach out to folks that are facilitators, or if there's a sponsor that might be willing to donate to pay for the fees for a facilitator. Would that be a possibility?
Yes, if we get a donation, that'd be great.
Fabulous. All right. So did anyone else, Jesse, Scott, anyone else have any feedback from the commission on hosting the community conversation, or any thoughts?
No.
Yeah, I actually, I like the idea. I do, and I said this before, I'd like to know a few details. I sort of understand what Joe Ray is saying. I think if, we are moving forward with this, what will it look like? I think as we are talking about it, I get a better and better idea about it, but I appreciate the discussion we're having so that I can sort of see where we're moving. But yeah, as far as it's baked now, I'm really in favor of it. I see a really good outcome.
Fabulous. And I want to just stress again, like, this is just brought to us by Business from the Public. We've just decided to make soup. Once we've decided to make soup, we're going to decide what ingredients are going into it and how this is going to look, if that makes sense. So, and then
Yeah, it sure does make sense. Thanks,
yeah.
Stephanie.
Sorry, I want to any other comments? Jesse, did you have anything to say?
No, I just can't wait to do this in person.
Yeah.
Here.
Okay, so I also have, so let's go ahead and vote. So everyone in favor of moving forward with the community conversations on race in tandem with and requesting the Albany City Council to join us, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, and did anyone else have any other business from the commission?
I had.
Oh, Joe Ray, did you want to go first, and then Scott?
No, go ahead, Scott. Go for it.
I was just going to say I did have something, but I believe that my issues got resolved already. Thank you.
Okay, and Joe Ray?
Yeah, that was easy, Scott, that we resolved your issues and we don't even know what they were. I love it. So I have a technical question. We have 2 members on our commission. Congratulations both to Jesse and to Ray for filing. Oh, yes, yeah. And then I see 2 other people, but you're not on the commission. You're guests tonight. So congratulations for filing and willing to serve. Ray again, and Jesse the same. Question is, should they both prevail and win, then we would then have, as of today, 3 vacancies. They cannot be on the commission if they are city council people. Is that correct? I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
That is correct, Joe.
Thank you. I was just wondering because I didn't know for sure.
Jorge, do you know when we might have the application for HRC Go Live? I have reached out to several people within the community to let them know that there will be a position opening up to get some more representation here on our commission. And I was just wondering when we could foresee seeing that application go live.
I believe if you go to the page for the Human Relations Commission, at the bottom, there is an apply button. And it should, let me see, oh, maybe we don't have the, okay, I'll talk to Matt to update the vacancy that was left by Chris. But normally you would see it, when you click apply, you would see that there is vacancies available there for different committees, and people can apply around, any time of the year, and then we just collect them. Okay.
Yes, I've noticed that there are a few openings, but I was waiting for the HRC one to come up.
Okay, I'll talk to Matt. I'll send him an email to make sure that he brings it up.
Will you email us and let us know the timeline, and when the link goes live, so we can share it throughout the community as well and encourage folks to apply?
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this for within Mike Sykes' ward? So not citywide, they would be resident within Mike Sykes' ward?
Although this is Ward 1, correct? But so I know that city council members have appointed folks in different wards. Like I believe, Joe Ray, you are appointed by Councilor Bill Coburn, who is Ward 2, and you live in Ward 1. So
I thought Bill was Ward 1. My apologies. That's why I was asking, because Bill used to be in Ward 1. Well, he grew up in Ward 1.
Oh, okay. So
okay. So I didn't know how.
Yeah. People in different commissions, but I believe that in different wards, but I believe that they tend to try. They do make their best effort to fill a position in their own ward.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then I also, go ahead, right?
Well, usually in October, November, there'll be a couple of newspaper ads listing all the positions that they're looking for candidates for, and always on the web also, but it's also going to be published in the newspaper. Usually it's an annual event. They're always trying to solicit input from the public and to get involved, and that's just another way to do it.
Awesome. And then, so I did have another piece of business. So I wanted to, so Chris Equinos was the liaison from the Human Relations Commission to the Community Development Commission. Upon his resignation, I was appointed to take his seat at the, as a member of the Community Development Commission by Mayor Canopa as a representative of HRC. So I would want to let everyone know, and so I will be sure to share updates whenever we meet.
Perfect. Sounds great.
All right. Any other business? Right?
Not business. It's a personal item, I guess. It's not going to change anything whatsoever, but it's tangentially related to our major conversation this evening. A couple of weeks ago, I did join NAACP, and that'll just be, something that'll be on my agenda. I might be able to attend some meetings and stuff, and get more involved that way also. So another bit of coming out.
All right. So our next meeting will be, if there's no other business from the commission, we'll move forward with agenda item 7. So our next meeting is Tuesday, September 22nd. And that'll be the day before we present and award the Human Relations Commission Awards. Seeing no further business, I'll call us to adjourn at 8:42 p.m.
Have a good evening, folks. Thank you.